Hi, tudo bem, and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove, and laughing at my Portuguese-Brazilian pronunciation, his name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. A little bit of that, a little bit that you gave up on, and welcome.
There's only so much time in the day, and most of my time was focused on researching the teams of Group E. I could only do so much Portuguese-Brazilian language.
That's fair. That's
I kept nearly calling it Brazilian. We made it, though. We made it.
Portuguese-Brazilian, or did you go Portuguese?
I was close, yeah. So today's Group E. Mm-hmm. Today is Group E. It is, of course, Brazil. Mm-hmm. It is Switzerland. It is Costa Rica. It is Serbia.
Si.
So shall we start with the first team in the group?
Why not?
And the team I think might be winning the World Cup after doing my research, it's Brazil.
I 1,000,000% agree with you.
Really?
They are my favorites to the extent that their real nickname is Seleção, which is the selection. I have gone with Hexa, which is the prefix for anything 6, because they are looking for their 6th World Cup.
I see. So you think they're going to be the 6-time champions?
I do indeed.
So I'll be honest, this surprised me, because I have spent the last month or so, as World Cup anticipation has built, I've had people say to me, hey, who do you think is going to win? And my standard answer has been, well, I don't really like to commit. There's a lot of good teams, like Spain are good, Germany are good, Brazil are good.
I believe I've heard you say probably one of the 32 teams that will be there.
Yeah, so I've been almost dodging the question, but after watching a lot of Brazil, reading about Brazil, I really feel, I mean, I'm not guaranteeing they'll win, but they're definitely my favourite. Now, when someone asks me that question tomorrow, I'm going to say, Brazil!
Yep. I would agree with you. And I didn't, I went with the nickname, I went with Hexa, but I think I also thought about, oh boy.
They would also definitely win the Hex.
I think that's probably safe to say, yes. Also, forgive my Portuguese pronunciation in advance.
Hey, you didn't forgive mine.
Fair enough. Os estereotipos alemães, which is the stereotypical Germans, because that's basically what they are, in my opinion. Is a lot of
Brazil
things.
Team are stereotypical Germans.
Basically, yes. And I meant that in the best possible way, because they remind me of what we've kind of come to expect from the German national team. They are defensively solid, anchored by a world-class goalkeeper, world-class talent with attacking flair that fits into a complementary system that can be adjusted based on what's needed. Ooh. It's all right there, in my opinion.
Okay. My nickname. First of all, I would like just to give a shout-out to the actual Seleção nickname. Yeah. It might be my favourite nickname because for some reason it carries weight where other nicknames are just the selection or the team and it doesn't mean anything. For some reason, maybe it's just Nike branding, Seleção has this sort of vibe to it.
I think here was the problem for me, I think, before, is that I mispronounced it. And then we'll stop talking about pronunciation after this. I think I went Seleção. You are correct. It is Seleção.
Yeah,
and then it's much more...
I'll be watching some videos.
Much more lovely. So well done, Daryl. You're right. I do like that nickname quite a bit.
My nickname for them is the Team of Terrifying Triangles.
Yep.
The Team of Terrifying Triangles. Because you've got your back four. Okay.
Triple T.
That's a back four. Up front, there is a triangle, and at the point of the triangle is either Gabriel Jesus or Roberto Firmino, probably Neymar to the left and Willian to the right, and Felipe Coutinho to replace either of them if they want to. And they basically keep that shape. And I've got to think anytime you're a defender, you look up and see any of those three coming towards you, you start trembling just a little bit.
I would say you probably have to.
But then behind them, there's a triangle, sort of a mirror image triangle, right? Where you've got Casemiro, Champions League winner, Casemiro at the base. And then, again, it's variable, but maybe it's, say, Renato Augusto and Paulinho, or it's Fernandinho and Paulinho. There's a midfield three of not quite so flashy, but really solid. We will win the ball back off of you, and we're very, very competent with the ball and can move it around. Midfield three. So the Team of Terrifying Triangles.
I think you're right. One thing to add, unless you already did, if you did, I apologize. Coutinho also can play in that midfield triangle as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
we'll get to all that.
Well, my point is simply that, no matter where you look, it's just sort of oh yeah, they've got world-class talent there, and there, and there, and also there.
So this is the important thing that I think you're getting at here is Chiche has has all kinds of options. Yeah. And yet, he also seems reasonably certain about what he wants to do. He's not overawed by the selection of talent on offer, right? He's even, didn't he sort of name 15 of his 23 well in advance, just saying, yeah, these guys are definitely going. And then he named his squad quite early as well.
I think the Brazilian FA did not love that, and I think it was probably smart from him for a variety of reasons to do that.
So why so?
Well, because historically, I mean, there's been allegations that Brazilian FA and maybe some of their sponsors have a say in who gets caught up for friendlies, maybe who gets in consideration for some of the later in the depth chart positions.
You mean maybe one of their sponsors?
Yeah, maybe. And so, I don't want to insult the corporate overlords. But I think maybe that was an attempt to just be like, nope, I know who I want. I'm not listening to anybody else. I don't want any meetings where it's suggested to me that, I know you're going to cast this person. Why not try this person too? And then suddenly that's who ends up getting the role. Yeah. I think maybe he just wanted to get it out of the way because that's kind of what he's done with this Brazil team is sort of stick to what's worked, and what's worked has worked.
What's worked has worked.
Tautology, baby.
Can we talk about then what is facing you when you do see that front three? I think you're going to have Neymar dribbling at you from the left, right? Neymar combining with, say, Gabriel Jesus on the left. Marcelo overlapping to the left of Neymar. Suddenly you're all crowded on the left with talent coming at you. On the right, I think it's going to be Willian starting. I'm a big admirer of Willian's game. I think he's going to sort of drive towards the middle as well. Basically, I'm saying this team is not going to be banging crosses in. This team is going to be dribbling and one-twoing and coming at you.
I agree.
But at the same time, they're very patient. Every game I've seen, they are when it gets to midfield, say, they're not in a hurry to get it forward. It's more like, Paulinho passes to Casemiro, he lays it off to Marcelo, they put it wide, they put it back to the middle, and they're just slowly working, waiting for a good opportunity to spring that 1-2 and get in behind you. And then Gabriel Jesus is on the end.
Yeah, that works. He's pretty decent. I mean, and I agree with you. I think it's a combination of the way they possess, the way they do have patience, but the way that they constantly have one person popping up when you don't see it coming. I went back and watched a lot of their games of qualification. That person is frequently Paulinho, who just kind of ghosts into the box after everybody has already crashed, and then he's there to pick up that rebound to put it in the back of the net.
The Brazilian Frank Lampard.
Beautiful. Maybe Frank Lampard is the English Paulinho. Now it gets confusing. But I think it's just when we've seen Brazil in the past, it has been Neymar and then 10 other guys. Or it's been, the team that Dunga's coaching. Do we trust Dunga? That's actually the same team.
There's none of that, right?
There's none of that. And I think a huge part of that is Chiche. And I think that he really is the reason why I think they're going to win. Their talent is their talent, but it takes a certain caliber manager to be able to bring that talent together and to get it to play as a unit. And I think he's done that.
Here's how I would underline that for you. If they were to lose Neymar, they would still be my favourites. Right?
Agreed.
Neymar's coming back from that metatarsal injury, right? He seems to be fit. He scored twice against Croatia, so he's doing just fine.
Not bad.
Tin Jedvaj helped him out a little bit. But if Neymar was to be injured again, then we'd still have maybe Coutinho would play on the left, and you'd still have a terrifying front three and a team that knows what it's doing, and they'd still be almost as terrifying.
Or Tason, he could. No, he won't. No, it would be Coutinho, and you're absolutely right. It would be terrifying.
But isn't that the big difference between 2018 Brazil and 2014 Brazil?
The depth, you mean?
Yeah, because 2014 Brazil, they were desperate for a striker. Poor old Fred had to play. He had a terrible time of it.
Worth noting, real fast, because people have already made this mistake, the Fred that's on the roster, very different Fred. Yeah. Very different Fred.
I'm assuming he's the Manchester United Fred.
He's the one who's going to win the Golden Ball and probably every other award you can win at the World Cup. Yes, it's that Fred.
He's signed for Man United.
There's no bias at all there, yeah.
That Fred's a midfielder, right?
Who probably won't play too much.
Right. Well, Fred, you probably wished he hadn't played too much in 2014. But just that underlined their struggles, right? But this year, instead of having to deal with Fred, they've got to choose between Gabriel Jesus and Roberto Firmino. And then again, if Neymar, when he was injured, he got that knee in the back in 2014. The next game they lost 7-1. It was a disaster. Not all because of Neymar, but so much was riding on him, right? This year, it's very different. I think that's just about there's an element of luck in terms of depth of talent and a good generation coming along, and there's an element of Chiche.
See, that's the thing. I think it's Chiche, in my opinion, because you look at a player like Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is one that he got a ton of flack for bringing in.
Did he?
Because Gabriel Jesus, he was young. He was inexperienced.
Back in the day.
It was before he had moved to Man City. I think it was before that move was even on. Is when he got his cap.
Palmeiras?
That sounds familiar. But he brought him in. People were very critical. That's worked out. Paulinho, he stuck with him when he was with Hebi China Forte, or just in China is the easier way to put that. And then suddenly...
because he was his club coach back in the day with, I want to say, Corinthians.
You are correct. Yes. There's a few of those. And so I think it was his willingness to stick his neck out and say, this is the person I want. And it seems like sometimes that can be very bad. If you're a new manager bringing a player with you from your old club, not always the best idea. But for Brazil, it seems to have worked. And I have lots more to say about Chiche if you want to go that route, or unless there's anything else you want to go with.
Can we start with a question?
Sure.
So Tite is how you spell it. So people might be wondering why we're saying Chiche.
Yep.
I do know that his full name is Adenor Leonardo Bacci. I assumed that Chiche is a sort of nickname based on the very last syllable of his name.
So here is what I understand it to be. Might be wrong. I'm sure Brazilian listeners will correct me. But part of the reason why I like Chiche so much is because he has evolved. He changes the way he wants to play. So he started out in his managerial career as a big believer in the idea of a back 3-5-2, but very defensive. They got a lot of results. They got a lot of draws. A draw in Brazilian is empate, and apparently he got so many of them that they shortened it and added like the ite to make it like little draw, something like that.
Oh, no.
So he's Chiche is where that came from. But then he got really into the idea of like a back 4 and a 4-4-2. He played that system. As you mentioned, he was with Corinthians. Didn't go very well.
This is like a Marvel superhero origin story.
Kind of. This is my favorite thing about him. This is why I like him so much.
He got bit by a 4-3-3 spider.
He got bit by a bad season, which maybe was a spider. Yeah. No, it's 2013, managing Corinthians. Things go bad. He takes a sabbatical. And he basically says, I'm going to dedicate myself to learning the modern game. Wow. He traveled around the world, Daryl Grove. He got job offers, turned them all down. Traveled around the world, met with coaches, met with clubs, saw how they practiced, saw how they trained, goes back to Corinthians, however you want to pronounce it, Corinthians, whatever.
I want to pronounce it correctly.
I'm saying Corinthians. I'm sticking with it. I know it's wrong. Whatever. It's easier. They won the 2015 Campeonato Brasileiro Serie A in the, I think, most impressive fashion ever. He was the coach of the season. Then he moved to Brazil. They asked him why he thought he'd improved. My favorite line of all time, because he learned how to learn, Daryl. He learned how to learn.
He's a lifelong learner.
I love Chiche.
Okay, shall we get to some predictions? There's a lot more to talk about, but I'd like to get us rolling with the predictions.
And what you mentioned before, when he won Coach of the Season with that team in 2015, Cassio, Fagner, and Renato Augusto were all on that team.
So he's stuck with his buddies, right?
But when it's required,
when required. And that's why Fagner gets the call-up in Dani Alves' absence, right?
Yep.
Okay, do you remember I was talking about the front three earlier? And I feel like the least glamorous person of that front three of, say, Neymar, Gabriel Jesus, and Willian is Willian.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a safe bet.
But I actually think he's maybe the most important.
I would also agree.
Because he sort of provides so much for so many people. You know what I mean? He's also got that amazing... We've seen this at Chelsea many, many times. He has that amazing ability to just separate himself just enough to get a shot or a pass away. Just that quick accelerate, go, and then space is open.
Yep.
I think Willian will be the most productive attacker on this Brazil team.
So we move to predictions.
And I'm defining this as goals plus assists.
Yeah.
Willian will have the most. More than Jesus, more than Felipe Coutinho, more than Neymar.
All right, I like that. I bet he also has the most tackles of any of the front three because he's also the one who I think does the most defensive work.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
So why do you think him more than the other two? Is it just because defenses might focus on Jesus and Neymar, or do you think he just brings something different?
Well, I think, for example, like Neymar will do something spectacular, right? He'll do something incredible. But I think Willian might, in the same game, say Neymar gets a goal in that game, Willian might have 2 assists. Because he's sort of more willing to sort of lay it on for other people.
Okay,
yeah,
I like that.
And honestly, it could be any of those attackers get the most. I'm really just trying to make sure that our listeners pay attention to Willian. They're not looking at the other side of the field at Neymar.
That's
so it's
fair.
Almost like a prediction with a purpose rather than something I'm really confident will happen.
I like it, yeah. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off that a little bit because one of my predictions is that Brazil will score at least 3 goals with their instep. I know, and that's specifically just in the group stage. So even then, that's still not that big of a shout, but I love it.
Wait, is that weird though? Because if you're just in the box and tap it in, is that your instep?
That's what I'm saying, is that if you're doing a tap in, you're doing that. What I saw from their highlights and from the few games I did actually watch, there are lots of FIFA goals from this Brazil team. And it's that, we've talked about it before, it's when the attacker, you kind of run at an angle, the goalkeeper comes out, and you square it.
Yep.
So many, like, I could shoot here, but I'll square to the open person to pass. I saw a lot of those. All of those were instep finishes. The other thing I noticed, Gabriel Jesus and Neymar love an instep finish on a breakaway. It's a lot of like picking their head up, seeing what the goalkeeper's doing, opening their hips up, and then passing it to one side or the other of the goalkeeper. You don't see that sort of
forcefully, right?
Yeah, but you don't see that kind of head down smash. I'm going to hit as hard as I can and hope something happens. And then the last thing I've already mentioned is the attacker with way too much time in the box, usually Paulinho, who's kind of making that trailing run and is there to do the instep finish from like 12 yards out into the top corner. Like when it's like the goalkeeper stretched or maybe on the ground, and it's an impressive goal, but also a goal that should be scored, they're going to score it with the instep.
All right. Can I keep the predictions rolling?
Sure.
We mentioned Marcelo earlier. We're obviously very big fans of Marcelo here on the Total Soccer Show.
That we are.
I want to first mention, you will hear elsewhere, there's a problem because there's spacing behind Marcelo because he gets forward so much. I want to underline this again. If there is space behind Marcelo, you should be afraid because that means Marcelo is coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not an opportunity. It's a crisis that you are currently in, and you should be scared.
Yep.
Because the other thing Marcelo does, he doesn't just overlap down the wing like a normal boring fullback. How many times have we seen this from Real Madrid? He does it as well for Brazil. The interior run. So he'll do like a weird underlap and drift centrally, and then he'll be sort of involved in the central attacking midfield area.
Yep.
There will be a Brazil goal that prominently features a Marcelo underlap or interior run.
I would agree with that. Just one? Not 14?
At least one.
I mean, I think
I call it the Marcelo through the middle move.
Yeah, I think that's good. The fact that they're in a strong defensive group, I think, though, like we're talking about all the goals they're going to score. I don't think you're going to see one of those 8-1 hammerings or anything like that, but I think they'll definitely be finding the back of the net.
And this maybe is worth underlining because Brazil are patient, because the triangles I mentioned, the triangles are essentially about them. They always have two options to pass, and they just keep taking the passing option, moving the ball around. In some ways, Brazil could be a little bit boring for stretches because they'll just possess but won't really go anywhere, and it'll look like maybe they're struggling to break a team down.
Yep.
I really think most of the time they're just being patient and waiting for the opening to open up. But don't expect fireworks, at least not constant fireworks.
I would agree with that.
A lot of priming the fireworks.
Priming the fireworks. I'm not sure that's how it works, but sure.
I have never. I can
tell by the way that you just did. You mimed a screwdriver. I think you're doing a lot of screwdriving with the fireworks. Are
I'm
you?
imagining like you're in the
fireworks. Way to lose a thumb.
You're in the firework factory and you're putting the fire inside the thing. The tube.
That was really funny. I would agree with everything you said, except for the fireworks part. But I would say one of the things that stuck out to me, because you're right, it's a lot of build up, it's a lot of smart passing, and then it's kind of taking your opportunities when they come. But I think the thing that I noticed a lot is that Neymar, at least for Brazil, he fights. And that was the thing that I was kind of surprised to see.
Because we got used to the PSG Neymar, right? Yeah.
And so another prediction I've got, I actually have three, but this is my second one. Neymar will win at least one tackle in the opponent's half and will body at least one defender in a 50-50 challenge.
Body?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I saw him doing that a lot in qualifying.
Serbia?
Where it was that sort of, that could be difficult. But against maybe Switzerland or Costa Rica, I saw that sort of, you know what I mean? Where it's like there's a loose ball, both players are running towards it, and you just kind of step across and give him that hip fake. A couple times I saw him do that while stepping over the ball, so he has control. And the opponent went flying and then complained to the referee. And the referee definitely gave that sort of like, no, he has the ball, play on. And he just seeing those little moments of like Neymar almost defensively like smelling blood in the water and being like, oh, I'm getting this ball. He does not lose that ball when he's decided he's getting it. So I think you're going to see more defensive work from him than you might expect.
Is there a chance that his season at PSG has him well rested? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but maybe it's a good. Like some people could say, "Oh, he's lost his edge, or he's not as sharp, or he's become weirdly selfish." What I've seen of Neymar recently, there's none of that. He looks like the old Neymar, and I think he's almost been saving it up for Brazil.
I think it's probably partially saving it up, partially he is aware of how many doubters he has and how much criticism there's been about some of the decisions he's made since,
good
including moving to PSG, but then also since moving to PSG. So yeah, I do think a good way to silence people is to win the World Cup. It kind of shows that you're pretty good and determined.
Any other areas you want to talk about?
I mean, I know we've already talked about him a bunch, or I've already talked about him a bunch, but one of my predictions is that it's not really a prediction because I don't know if it will happen necessarily, but it is that I think Chiche has the potential to be like the next big club manager coming out of Brazil. Now, he has previously said he isn't going to leave. He doesn't want to leave a place. And the reason why is not because he loves Brazil so much. I mean, he probably does. It's because a big part of what he brings to Brazil is communication. It's kind of what we talked about with Guardiola and the better managers, is that if players feel like they're learning from you and you're conveying things to them that they didn't previously understand, they're going to trust you that much more.
Yeah.
And it seems like he is an expert communicator at being able to, in the middle of a game, say like, oh no, you've got to drop this foot. Oh no, you've got to open up a little bit more. And players are learning from him on the fly. And so his concern moving to another country is, can he do that in English or Spanish or Italian? He does have Italian roots, so there's some speculation that maybe he goes to Italy after this World Cup. He has said previously he doesn't want to, but then has said, well, if I could learn a language, maybe we'll see. So I'm wondering if basically there's an element of, I've done this, now we'll see what else is out there. People will be very excited because here's this guy who unified Brazil.
Well, it all depends what happens at the World Cup.
Whatever.
Right? Yeah.
I choose to be optimistic.
So I would say, I like to give the physical description of the coaches so people are ready when they see them.
Yep.
Chiche genuinely looks like a statue that someone's already carved.
Yep.
Right?
You were not wrong.
It looks like there's a future statue coming of Chiche for his achievement in sort of redeeming Brazil after 2014, and that he's sort of chiseled his face and got his cheekbones nice and sharp to make him easy to sculpt. He saw what happened to Ronaldo and he was like, no, I'm going to make sure I am very sculptable.
He's got like the silver hair too, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's a very striking figure. Yes. Mm-hmm. All the more reason to have statues of him and him managing in Europe. And then I think the only thing we didn't mention, just to mention briefly, is the fact that with Brazil, even with Dani Alves out, with Marcelo, just being a liability, he's not. He's amazing. You still have so much depth in defense.
Yes.
You have 2 starting goalkeepers who could both start. I mean, you really do.
Only one of them can start.
Oh, it's risky. We'll see. Alisson and Ederson.
Yeah, it's going to be Alisson just based on seniority, it looks like, right? But Ederson's a perfectly fine option if they need him.
I would say
That's,
so.
again, the depth of Brazil this year.
And then Miranda, Marquinhos, Thiago Silva. I mean, these are all names we know and love.
Here's what I expect in defence. I think what's happened is the starting pair right now is Thiago Silva and Miranda. And from what I've read, it's because Chiche trusts Thiago Silva more than Marquinhos. Marquinhos or Marquinhos?
Marquinhos.
Marquinhos in terms of playing the ball out of the back, which speaks to confidence, right?
Yep.
But then if they are up against some pacey attackers, then Marquinhos has the pace. He has the defensive pace. He will be brought back in for that purpose. Yeah.
So then if we
There's a good way to read what Chiche is thinking, right? If Marquinhos is in there, he's thinking, oh, we're worried about someone.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that somebody is on their own team because maybe the one vulnerability would be at right back theoretically with no Dani Alves. It looks like it will be Danilo starting with Fagner behind him. He's fine behind him.
Multiple other teams, we'd be talking about him as they've got this real strength at right back and it's Danilo.
And again, this is sort of why I like Chiche. I don't know if that's obvious yet.
You haven't mentioned it.
Is that there was a lot of speculation, as I said, Fagner played for him at club level, like, oh, you're bringing him in to start for you. And Chiche came out and said, like, no, Danilo will be the starter. Like, he just kind of like put the kibosh on it right there.
Yes.
And I really like that sort of clarity of mission. I think really helps the team understand what's expected.
Co-signed.
Okay.
We should also mention, before we hear from Liverpool fans, we should mention Roberto Firmino.
Heard of him.
A little more, because we're just assuming that Gabriel Jesus will start. And as I understand it, he's really sort of in a battle with Firmino. But it just looks like every time Chiche picks a starting 11, he normally goes Jesus.
I am very happy you brought this up because one of the points I meant to mention earlier is that from what I was reading, apparently Chiche has a secret weapon for 5 at the back teams because the expectation is they're going to come up against some teams who are going to bunker aggressively.
You mean, does it rhyme with Rostakika?
It does. And there is a theory that he will go with a front line of Firmino, Jesus, Neymar, and Coutinho. And basically do like a 4-2-4. So there's a chance we do see Firmino starting in some games, but if not, then we see him coming in either as like a link-up play, maybe to like win some aerial challenges, to be a fox in the box. He can really bring it all again.
Or just if Jesus isn't working out in a game, then Firmino is an option to sort of be like, all right, let's give this guy a try instead.
And I would bet that Jesus is going to get kicked a couple times in this tournament, so maybe there's also, like, if nothing else, then maybe match day 3, if things are locked up, that's where we see Firmino start. Which is not to say that he's like a scrub who gets to start the game that doesn't matter. It's just they are so deep that for many other teams in this tournament, Firmino would be the 100% locked-on starter. He would be the one that we're profiling and focusing on. For Brazil, he probably will not start.
I'm going to lock in our pronunciation here. Firmino. Firmino.
Firmino?
Firmino.
Firmino.
You can call him Firmi, yes. How about that?
Okay. Firmino.
All right, so we normally do...
Firmino. Perfect.
We normally do sort of which young, unknown player might earn a big transfer from this tournament.
All of them? I don't know.
I mean, I looked at this roster. I think the youngest player was Gabriel Jesus, and he already got his move to Manchester City a couple of years ago. So this Brazil team is so sort of high profile, we are not in that territory.
I think there's this one player, Fred, who, if he has a good World Cup warm-up campaign, maybe he'll get a move.
Has he signed for Man United?
Fred is a red. Fred is red, I think. Yes, it's been confirmed.
You've been reading the team hashtags.
Branding. And Diego is Riodo? I don't know. I don't know what to do for him.
Final thing. If you're a US fan and you're watching the World Cup and you don't have a team to root for, why would you choose Brazil?
I mean, if you're in Miami and you are going to support the eventual Miami Beckhams, then maybe Neymar when he eventually moves there, so you can get on the bandwagon early.
I thought Ronaldo was joining them.
They all are. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I would say if you just want to sort of get on a bandwagon for a possible champion, then Brazil's a good bet, right?
Yes, I would say so.
If you're just a glory hunter, go support Brazil.
Yes, indeed. And if you want to go maybe like, if you want to be a glory hunter who maybe has like a hipster approach to things, you could point out, and I say that only because I forgot to mention until just now, that a big part of why Brazil has the attacking fluidity that they do, why they have the link up between the defense and the attack.
Oh, we're going back into analysis.
Is Casemiro. And it's one that we mentioned very briefly, but I don't think we've talked about enough. He is so important to this team. So maybe you could be like, oh yeah, I'm for Brazil, but it's just because of Casemiro. He just is such an interesting player to watch.
So you
Boom,
can do the glory hunting thing, but you can also have a hipster pick to go with it. Yeah, but he is important because he provides that defensive base, but he also can play a bit, right? He can be part of that triangle and move the ball around. I think we should maybe slow the Brazil bandwagon because there's 3 more teams in Group
Should
E.
we though, or should we just keep talking about Brazil? Why not?
Runaway wagon.
It is. Yeah, we've got 3 more teams to discuss, but first we've got to talk about today's sponsor, Daryl Grove.
We get to talk about today's sponsor, Taylor Rockwell. Today's sponsor is Ancestry DNA. So we did the Ancestry DNA test. We found out that we are both, well, one of us is more English than the other one, we found out.
Well, I've doctored my results. I'm 100% Brazilian, so I'll be supporting Brazil. Yep.
I was hoping for some Brazil.
Like if you got like Brazil and German, you'd just be like, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
So Ancestry DNA,
maybe not historically.
I believe has the largest database. So once you get your DNA results, you can then see who you share DNA with. And they're doing a special deal coming up for Father's Day. So until June 18th, which I think is round about Father's Day. When's Father's Day? 17th?
We should probably know that.
We should probably know that. But until June 18th, they are doing, Ancestry DNA are doing DNA kits on sale for $69. Just $69 until June 18th. The idea here is this is a great gift for your dad. No more socks, no more sweaters, no more things he's already got. Get him an Ancestry DNA kit instead.
Yeah, and then it is also an activity then, because it's not just here's a thing for you, enjoy. You can go through it together when you get the results. You can analyze them. Those results, I'm going to guess, more than likely, are like 50% also your results.
Yes.
So then you can kind of get a preview to what you might get as well.
And then if you've both done it, you can sort of compare your DNA, right? Yeah.
And hope it checks out.
I mean, it should. It should. So if you go to ancestry.com/DNA, ancestry.com/DNA, you will see the offer to get a kit for Father's Day for your father for $69. You can also use the Total Soccer Show discount code TSS20 to get 20% off. The link to ancestry.com/DNA will be in the show notes. Maybe you and your dad can support Brazil together.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. That works for me. I think he would probably choose Brazil.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to listeners.
Oh, just listeners in general?
Your dad can support England, and that's it.
I think he probably will. Yeah.
Based on your obscene results.
Or maybe, the neutral country that welcomes all. Maybe he supports Switzerland. Who knows?
Let's talk Switzerland then. All right, so the second team up in Group E is Switzerland, nicknamed La Nati or the Schweizer Nati, which basically means the Nationals or the Swiss Nationals.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have that Seleção ring.
No,
and so what should it be, Taylor?
Well, and first I would add, it definitely needs to be something else because from hearing people properly pronounce it, Nati is not how you pronounce it. It's more like what you think it sounds like. So that can be a little bit off-putting when people are like, I'm really cheering on the... Yeah, it doesn't go so well.
Yeah, one of the many terrible things they did is ruin that word.
Yes, exactly. So instead, I'm going to go with the Bears.
The Bears? The Bears.
Yep. Except this one is in relation to Bear Bryant.
Did you get my reference?
I did. The Bears. You got to work down that heart attack. And then you got to talk about Bear Bryant, who maybe it's an apocryphal story, but I'm still rolling with it anyway. He is the one who allegedly coined the expression, offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships. Oh. And that is Switzerland. If they're going to get through this group, if they're going to make it to the knockout round, it's going to be because of their defense.
Interesting.
So they're the Bears.
I mean, I would say the commercial power of the World Cup sells tickets, and defense might get you out of Group E.
That's less flashy, but probably more accurate, yeah.
So I guess we're going to be talking about Switzerland's defense.
You think?
Would you like to do that now, or would you like to hear my nickname?
I would like to hear your nickname. So it's not Schweizer Nati?
It is not. It is the give it to Shaqiris.
Yep.
Switzerland are the give it to Shaqiris. Yeah. Because that's kind of the plan, right? That is mostly the game plan. And then Jadon Shaqiris of Stoke City, but maybe not for much longer, doesn't give it back.
Do you want to steal my Egypt nickname? Because I think mine was Mohamed Salah in the parked buses. Do you want to go Sharon Shaqiri in the parked buses?
I do not. I like mine better. They give it to Shaqiris.
All right. Yeah.
So do you want to talk about Shaqiri first, or do you want to talk about defence first? Let's do what Switzerland do and go defence first.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it is going to be a defensively sound organization, is how I'm going to put that one. Which is not to say that they won't be attacking. It also means that their attack will likely come from those fullbacks. But I think it's going to be a very rigid defensive system. I think you're going to see them set up like at most 30 yards from their own goal. You don't see a lot of aggressive stepping. You see a lot of basically inviting to shoot from distance, and you're allowing the opponent to go out wide, and then they're backing their height, they being the Swiss, to let those crosses come in. They're very content.
4-2-3-1. I think it's a little bit Icelandish.
Yep,
right?
I would
Where
agree with that.
They don't sit right on. They don't sit right on top of their goalkeeper. They maybe step and block you, but they're not too adventurous in doing so.
No, and I think even when they step and block, it's, in my opinion, the most of the time when I saw it, it was when the person had clearly committed to shoot is when you would see somebody go charging out, unless maybe there was like a miscontrol ball or something like that.
So they're also the shot blockers. Switzerland are the shot blockers.
Yeah, kind of. I saw lots of shots from distance, and I think this is one team, though, where maybe Brazil's patience and their willingness to pass through could be problematic, because if you can...
Be problematic for Brazil?
For Switzerland. Because if you can start to possess, I have seen from some of the footage I watched, you can see Switzerland start to get a little bit stretched and a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
So they're comfortable for their opponent to have the ball basically in front of the goal, but simultaneously don't want them to have it like just completely comfortably for long periods of time, because I think eventually they find their way through. So if you can kind of start to stretch them a little bit, that's where the holes open up.
Can we talk about some of the defenders?
Sure.
Because I was very impressed watching the footage. I didn't really know much about Switzerland. I thought, maybe Johan Giroud sometimes plays for them. I discovered two new guys I was not very familiar with. They're two, I believe, starting centre-backs.
I think Travis Clark would like a word with you.
Is that right? Why is that?
Because Manuel Akanji was one of his breakout players to watch.
Oh, Travis, I apologise. Well, Manuel Akanji, 22 years old, plays for Borussia Dortmund. I really like this player. He reads the game, steps and intercepts when he has to, two-footed so he can kind of pass and dribble out of the back. Really, really impressive player. I hope he starts, because it'll make things a lot more interesting, a lot smoother as well. When Switzerland get possession, if it's on Manuel Akanji's foot, then it's off to a good start.
Yes, and worth noting, the manager, Vladimir Petkovic, 54-year-old Bosnian manager. He's been in charge since 2014.
Looks like a junior US senator from a small Midwestern state.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. But I bring that up only to say, aside from that segue, is to say that it does seem like the reason why Giroud is there, aside from his long career, is that they have that relationship. And so that would be maybe the wrinkle there. Is Akanji is definitely like the up-and-comer who's exciting and seems like he can be the kind of electrifying one to watch. But Giroud is the one who's trusted, has the experience, and so it's a debate as to what Petkovic does with those two players.
I would say if Giroud starts in the first game, it's because Petkovic bottled it and went with experience. Because to me, Manuel Akanji,
you won't get an argument from me.
Is clearly the superior player. And the reason they probably won't partner each other, they will now have said that, is that the other centre-back is Fabian Schär, who is equally smooth and impressive. I've got him as sort of a Swiss Vincent Kompany.
I like that.
Super like smart and composed, similar to Akanji. And he also plays these nice, long, accurate passes.
Yep.
So with Schär is how you pronounce it. With Fabian Schär, he's got you, babe, and you won't need to turn back time.
You worked on that one too long, I feel like.
I did, and then I mispronounced his name at the beginning.
I was wondering why you went out of your way to correct the pronunciation.
I'm just telegraphing
Good
the joke.
stuff, Daryl. Good
But
stuff.
for the record, it genuinely is pronounced Fabian Schär. That's what I noticed when I was watching him.
At least your comedic timing won't be important in a couple of weeks. That's good. Not like we're going on tour or anything.
More on that later.
So I want to add there, like, with what you're saying, it's not necessarily just to say, like, oh, Switzerland are, like, slow and boring and they're just going to sit back and be frustrating. I do think they might be frustrating to watch, but they are very good at what they do. They have a lot of talent. They've got the center backs we've already mentioned. Yeah. Absolutely. And then you move wider, where you've got Ricardo Rodriguez on the left, Stefan Lichtsteiner on the right. Stefan Lichtsteiner will also be the captain of this team.
These guys have been fullbacks for Switzerland forever as well.
I think for over 150 years, I think. They're both Highlanders, which is weird because you wouldn't usually have two of them in the same place.
Every time they overlap and get a cross in, lightning comes down and they gather some power.
Oh, you've seen it before. Yeah. Okay, you already knew this. My mistake. I thought I was telling you new things, but I was not. And I want to go back to kind of what they're going to bring to the table because
the fullbacks?
Yes,
okay.
Because
remind us their names again, because I know we're talking fast and mentioning a lot of names.
Sure. Ricardo Rodriguez of AC Milan and Stefan Lichtsteiner, 34-year-old captain. Of Arsenal.
Of
yes.
not
Not
captain
captain of
of
Arsenal,
Arsenal.
but yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yep, he just joined Arsenal, like 2 days ago?
Yeah, I'm not sure at time of recording what day that would be, but yeah, and I actually have a prediction about him, which is that he will make Hector Bellerin either very nervous or very happy. And that's nervous because I think Stefan Lichtsteiner is going to be a very important part of this team. Obviously, he's the captain, but both
The
defensively.
Swiss Express, they called him at Juventus.
And so that could make Bellerin nervous, or it could make him happy because maybe then Arsenal like, yeah, you know what? You're surplus to requirements. We'll sell you on for a lot of money. You can go somewhere else. But I think Lichtsteiner is going to be huge for this team, not just because of his leadership, but because he can chip in goals. In qualifying, he had 3 goals and 1 assist. Rodriguez, for his part, had 2 goals and 1 assist. Their 2 fullbacks constituted 22% of their goals in qualifying.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Which is also telling that 5 goals was 22%.
Yes. So what I see from Switzerland is they do defend kind of very cautiously. But when they get the ball back, they are willing to commit. Stefan Lichtsteiner forward down the right and Ricardo Rodriguez forward down the left, and both are very useful. And then those guys provide sort of overlaps and just additional bodies and danger to the forward line. So you ready to go there with me?
I am, except for one more one more thing. With just a very quick point. My other prediction was that Brazil will have an insane possession statistic against Switzerland.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think they're going to be completing a ton of passes in Switzerland's half. I don't think Switzerland will care about that at all. I think if they get out of that with a draw and 15% possession, they will be fine with it. In their World Cup qualifiers against Portugal, they had consistent bodies behind the ball. They set up near the top of the 18. And as I said, they can be pulled apart with patience, but I think they're going to be so solid that they're basically going to be very happy just to sit and soak up that pressure and maybe look to counter.
Okay, and when they do counter, they go to... So we don't know the exact starters, right? But 2 guys I will almost guarantee are... Xherdan Shaqiri will either be the attacking mid or maybe one of the wide attackers in the 4-2-3-1.
Yep.
And I believe, despite his inability to score goals, Haris Seferovic will be the centre forward.
I believe you're correct.
So poor old Haris Seferovic, Aziz Ansari's cousin, possibly? He does not have a good goal scoring record.
That's a deep cut.
He scored, 4 goals for Benfica last season. He has scored about 1 in 5 for Switzerland, which is not the record of an international striker for a high-class team. But I'm about to defend him.
Okay.
I would
add he has not scored a single goal for Benfica since October of this season. 20 appearances, 10 since January. So he's been getting minutes. He just has not been scoring.
Here's why he keeps starting, though. His job is not just to score goals. So Seferovic, he does play up front. He is a centre forward. But what he's really, really good at is sort of just tracking the ball, holding it up, laying it off. He is a connector. He connects the ball to everybody else around him. And occasionally he has a strike and hits the bar or hits the post and then looks really frustrated. He has this face that I've seen 100 times watching highlights of Switzerland, and you feel bad for him because it's not like he's doing anything wrong, but he's doing so many other little things right. That's why I think he keeps starting. So here's my prediction. Haris Seferovic will end with more assists than goals, and that's okay because that's what he's there for.
Yeah, I think so. Anytime, even if the statistics look bad, if it is to the better of the team, then I think it totally makes sense. I also think you're right because I have seen him called the Swiss Higuain because he tends to miss those chances to get on the end of those crosses, but maybe just head them wide when he should have put them on frame. And then also you mentioned he had 4 goals in qualifying. Those goals came against Latvia.
I said he had 4 goals for Benfica.
Oh, okay. That may be as well.
In a whole season.
But in qualifying, he had 4 goals against Latvia, Hungary, and Andorra. He had a brace against Andorra. Not the most, stern of opposition.
But I want to sort of just highlight his actual qualities, right? When Switzerland will play a long ball forward, he will fight for that ball in the air. He will hold it up, and he also has weirdly soft feet. He will bring things down very nicely and lay them off. So just keep an eye on Haris Seferovic doing that. And if he's not cutting it, they do have a couple of reserves, but I think Seferovic is going to be the starter, and he'll hold on to that shirt even if he doesn't score goals.
I like it. Well, that leads us to talk about maybe the other big name on this team. Aside from Granit Xhaka, it's Xherdan Shaqiri.
Yes.
So as you said, probably starting on the right. He is one who I think if anybody on this team is getting a move this summer, it is Xherdan Shaqiri. I think you can probably nail that one on. He's already been linked with every Premier League team.
And again, he just got relegated with Stoke City.
And that's why he has a relegation release clause. It's £12 million.
Oh, yeah.
That is worth spending. I do wonder, I don't know the answer to this, and I did not have time to look it up. So there's the release clause, right? There's the relegation release clause, $12 million. I don't know what happens if multiple teams trigger that. Like, as in, if you
He gets to talk to multiple teams.
But my question is, like, can you then, like, if you, Daryl Grove, trigger the like, if I have a player's 12 million clause, you trigger that, but somebody else does, can I go back to you and be like, okay, give me 14 and you win this time, or is it just it's triggered, he can talk to whomever?
The minimum fee release clause means the club has to accept the bid. Right? And once the bid's accepted, the next move is the bidding club talks to the player.
I see.
So every bid of 12 million, if that's what the figure is, has to be accepted. Yeah. So Shaqiris could have some options.
So then that's the way to look at it. It's not necessarily that he's going to drive up his value. It's more so that the more he impresses, the more teams think 12 million is not a lot for a proven Premier League player.
Also, if you're Xherdan Shaqiri, your value is not your transfer fee value because that's now done at 12 million. Your value is what they're going to pay you in salary.
Very true.
And how central they're going to make you to your team.
Yeah, so I think he's definitely getting a move. It's just to whom and for how much.
Yes.
In terms of his personal value. I think that will be partially determined, at least by this tournament.
So here's the interesting thing about Xherdan Shaqiri. I mentioned it at the top, right? He is going to look really, really selfish, right? He tracks back when he's defending. He does all that stuff. But when he gets the ball, he's not really looking to pass. He's looking to open up some space and bang a shot at goal. You will see all kinds of shots from Xherdan Shaqiri, and you won't see any Swiss players complain about it because I think they know it's what happens.
Can I add on to your prediction?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to give listeners a specific thing.
Seferovic is my prediction.
Oh, okay, I thought you had one for Shaqiri as well. You will see Shaqiri, because now that you mentioned this, I didn't really put it together. I saw him do it a lot. The my bad, like the my bad hand in the air of like, I know I should have passed.
Is that why they're never mad? Because he always apologizes after.
But I know exactly what you're referring to because twice in a single game I saw him. Like, there was a person wide open in the box, and he tried to dribble through two and shot like 20 yards wide, and then was like, I know, my bad.
And it was almost too easy of a prediction to say Xherdan Shaqiri will have a wonder goal.
Yeah.
Because he did this at Euro 2016, shot a lot. He ended up scoring that weird sort of bicycle kick against, I believe, Poland. Like, so he'll have a highlight reel. He'll have something to add to his highlight reel from the 2018 World Cup.
Not to take away from that, but I would say, like, I've heard a lot of people say that, and then it's always that goal. And then they kind of don't list another couple goals, which is what you usually do. And it's like, he always scores a wonder goal.
There's a lot of shots high and wide as well.
Yeah, so I think that's the one that I'll be interested in if he can turn those on.
There'll be Stoke City wonder goals throughout the season.
Very true.
But also Stoke City defeats.
Also that.
And if you've never seen Xherdan Shaqiri before, prepare yourself.
He's a rectangle.
He is so muscly. Yep. He's almost square, I would say. Yeah. So muscly and so short that I think I saw his shorts touching his socks multiple times.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Yeah. I mean, so he's going to be really difficult to knock off the ball. He is very, very fast, but again, because of that low center of gravity, can cut and change directions and come inside, but then go back outside, and people will sometimes fall over
He's
as a result.
difficult to dispossess.
Well said. Any other players you'd like to talk about? I've got a couple.
I've got Granit Xhaka.
That's one of them.
We haven't really talked about midfielders.
We haven't.
I want to talk about Granit Xhaka. I have been less than complimentary of Granit Xhaka in the past. I sort of think he wasn't necessarily the defensive midfielder Arsenal need. I also thought he had too many stray passes. But I've gone back and watched a lot of Granit Xhaka, and he's better than I thought, right? The stray passes still exist, and I still don't think he's the perfect defensive midfielder, but I think he's important for Switzerland. Is that fair?
I'm happy that you're happy. Is that basically what you're doing here? Is like he's fine.
I'm going to say I'm thinking I did underrate him, but I'm not going to adjust it so much that I suddenly think he's like this great world class midfielder. Is that fair?
I think it's worth noting your voice didn't go up, which means yes, this is all genuine sentiment, and I appreciate that.
So you will see Granit Xhaka in central midfield, more than likely. You will see him spraying balls around. He has a lovely cross-field ball that he's very good at hitting. A lot of stuff. If Switzerland do pass the ball in midfield, it will go through him.
It will go through him,
Right? But you'll also see him commit some fouls. I predict Granit Xhaka will get suspended.
Really?
At World Cup 2018 through a red card or through yellow card accumulation. Here's why.
Okay.
Watched a bunch of his tackles. And I've actually looked at his record as well. He had, I think, 10 yellow cards for Arsenal last year. That's like nearly a yellow card every 3 games. Right? He had even more the year before that and a couple of red cards in his first season at Arsenal. Swiss fans that I've read and Swiss reports I've read, they're a little worried about him getting picking something up. I took a look at a lot of his tackles. He's a lunger.
Yep.
He lunges just high enough off the floor that it's not dangerous play and therefore a straight red, but he's lunging just high enough that it's reckless and he gets a yellow.
Yes.
You see the same thing?
I have. Yeah. I have seen the same thing, and I think part of it is because he seems like the one who... I'm with you that Switzerland don't necessarily press. I saw them kind of press a few times, and he is always the one who's doing it. And
Yeah.
it seems like
Let's
it's
go.
It does seem a little
on,
bit.
everybody.
It seems like a little bit like
Why
the
are you coming
midfield
with me?
has been told. Well, see, I think they do. I think it sort of is like if he goes, you guys go with him.
I see. All
and
right.
so I think he'll step
I was
and
just
then
doing
maybe
it for comic effect.
Yeah, thank you. But what I did see was against Hungary, he forced the goalkeeper into like just losing the ball.
Oh, yes,
because
yes.
the goalkeeper took a heavy touch. Xhaka saw that, stepped a good 15 yards, and the goalkeeper I think slipped and then tried to pick it up, couldn't get to
Yeah.
it. Xhaka scores.
Sometimes Shaq is smart.
Yeah, so well done. So I think he can have those moments where that step and that tackle is very useful, but I think you're also right. For that moment, I saw plenty of moments of him stepping a little too aggressively,
Yes.
going over top of the ball, going through a player.
That's it.
Yep.
Why does he go over the top of the ball so much? It's definitely like a weird technique in his
It's probably,
tackling.
I think it's probably like the jump tackle where you leave your feet too much as opposed to trying to slide in. If you're
Yes.
jumping in, always going to be a problem.
All right, so I'm predicting Granit Xhaka will get suspended, but he will still be very important for Switzerland.
It is an apt quote to go with the Ricky Bobby, I'm flying through the air right now. It's not good. You never want to be flying through the air on a slide tackle.
Anything else you would like to talk about with Switzerland?
In terms of youngsters to
They
watch,
give it to Shaqiris.
we already mentioned Manuel Akanji. The other maybe goal threat that we should probably talk about, I don't know if he will start, but we might see him come in as an alternate center forward or play out wide, is Breel Embolo. Scouted by Kirsten Miladinia.
Yes.
Breel Embolo is a 21-year-old striker for Schalke. Injury plagued. He really didn't have the consistent starts.
Is he injury plagued, or did you just have that one broken leg?
I believe he is injury plagued in the sense that I think he broke the leg, then maybe also like pulled a hamstring. I think he's had a couple different issues
Two very
here
different
and there.
ends of the spectrum.
This is very true. But I think he's had his setbacks, and I think those setbacks have impacted his ability to perform at both club and national team because by all accounts he has these moments where he looks brilliant for both club and country, and then he has moments where he misses an open goal. And so he kind of brings that duality to the table, but he's still so young and so like interesting to watch from a very pacey, very strong standpoint, but can score these very technically pretty goals that you kind of don't know what you're going to get.
I think it's worth watching him as well, right? He's got the moves. He loves a spin. I've seen a lot of spins that Embolo pulls off, and then he's got the acceleration to get away from people. To me, that's what makes him exciting. The other thing is he uses his shoulders admirably. I don't know if you notice this. As he's going past someone, if someone tries to step across him, he won't sort of use his hip to knock them out of the way. He'll lean in with his shoulder. It's almost like he's got reinforced shoulders that he can bounce people with. Right. And if he's maybe just a wide guy, but he manages to knock people out of the way with his shoulders.
He might just be strong.
He might just be strong, yeah. I may be reading too much into that, yeah.
So do you have a reason for Americans to root for Switzerland?
Reason for Americans to root for Switzerland. Oh, before I give you that, there's another youngster to keep an eye on, a guy I really like, but I don't think he'll start. His name is Dennis Zakaria of Borussia Mönchengladbach, which is a popular team to play for on this roster.
It sure is.
He's only 21, but he strides all over the midfield. He is full of energy and tackles and passing. If he plays, keep an eye on Dennis Zakaria.
And if he does play, my guess is that it would be in that 4-2-3-1 alongside Granit Xhaka. That spot could also go to Valen Barami or Gelson Fernandez.
The hero of 2014, Barami.
Why is that?
Because Barami was the guy that, against Ecuador, he was on the break and he got fouled and he went down and he just rolled and popped back up and he kept going and Switzerland scored.
All right.
Yeah, he may be included in this roster just for that moment.
I think he was a red card hero, too. I think we both have different predictions about him getting a red card, both of which he fulfilled.
So a reason to support Switzerland. I would say they are a genuine melting pot of a team.
Yep.
Right? They have, like Shaqiri and Xhaka, their families fled Kosovo, so they have a lot of refugees. They also have a lot of people from all over the world who just moved to Switzerland. Essentially, there's a lot of money in Switzerland. Like Manuel Akanji, his dad was a financial expert from Nigeria who moved to Switzerland, but then settles there, and now Akanji plays for Switzerland. Nigeria could probably do with him, looking for centre-backs.
Yep.
They've got players from what? Cape Verde. They've got Bosnian Croats. The coach is a Bosnian Croat who's a naturalised Swiss. Zacharias from Congo. They've got players from all over.
There we go.
Genuine melting pot. So somewhat American in that way.
I like it.
Yeah?
I like melting pots. I think we have another melting pot to get to in another group. Not today, but in another group. But for now, I like it, Daryl Grove.
Also,
like
similarly lax banking regulations
Also
in
that.
Switzerland.
Also
so we have that in common.
Perfect. Lots of reasons to root for them, most of which are banking related. Perfect.
All right. Before we get to Costa Rica, we have a second sponsor, and it's us.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we should announce that starting July 17th, the Total Soccer Show is going on tour.
Yep.
And we're going on tour with the Cooligans.
We are.
You should know the Cooligans by now. They are the gulliest soccer podcast in the United States, possibly in the whole world. So the Cooligans already announced this on their show.
Yeah.
Did you hear their announcement?
I did not. I just had to say, I have a neighbor who says gully as an adjective all the time, and it now makes me feel like the Cooligans are slowly permeating my life.
They describe this comedy tour as two of the whitest guys with two of the most Latino guys.
So which one is which?
That's not going to be you're both the whitest guys.
Okay.
That's not going to be in the marketing material. All the marketing material is at worldcupcomedytour.com. So there's going to be stand-up from the Cooligans and from special guest comedians, and then podcasts, maybe some Wikipedia game, trivia, guests from Taylor and I.
None of my khakis have pleats in them. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's only because you haven't gone home and ironed them yet.
No, that's not how it works. Get out of here. Anyway.
So
yes.
worldcupcomedytour.com. It starts July 17th, we believe, in Nebraska. You can check out all the locations and dates at worldcupcomedytour.com. I can name some cities we're definitely going to. Kansas City, Chicago, Columbus for a Save the Crew special. We're hoping Atlanta.
Yep.
We're not certain on that yet. Richmond, Virginia Beach.
Cincinnati,
are we? Okay, all right. I've never been to Cincinnati. I actually don't know the full list. I don't have it in front of me, but go to worldcupcomedytour.com. You can buy tickets now to see the Cooligans and the Total Soccer Show together at last on stage.
We go. Together at last on stage. I like it, even if shots were fired by the Cooligans.
They were not. Just at you.
That's fair. Wait, what? I'm pretty sure you were part of that as well.
That shot was just from me. All right,
calm it down, glasses. All right.
Link to worldcupcomedytour.com will be in the show notes. Up next, Costa Rica.
Yep.
I'll be honest, Taylor. I started researching Costa Rica, and I sort of went, oh, I know these guys.
I know who you are. Yeah.
I already know this team. Not just because it's very similar to 2014, but also because we've previewed and reviewed them multiple times in between, at Copa America Centenario, at the Gold Cup, and in 2 World Cup qualifying wins over the United States.
Yeah.
Costa Rica tore the US apart twice, 4-0 and 2-0.
And it's with that in mind that I have my nickname. Their real nickname would be Los Ticos. My TSS nickname would be the Wait What's. That's what I'm calling them.
The Wait What's?
Yes.
Why?
Because you can be watching a game and think like, oh man, we've got this. Like I went back and watched, it was not fun. I watched like 30 minutes of USA Costa Rica.
Which one?
The 2-0 loss.
The Red Bull Arena one.
Yes, it was not fun. But I kept waiting. I was like, did the US score? And I didn't remember because the US had like 10 shots in a row. Costa Rica went right down and scored 1 goal. And that's how it works.
There's a certain Champions League winning goalkeeper that had a lot to do with that night.
Indeed. But it was one of those like, wait, what? Like, how do they do that? And so I found myself saying, wait, what? Several times watching them. So they're the Wait What's.
The Wait What's. Lovely. I call them the well-oiled machine that ain't broke, so don't fix it.
Yeah. That's good.
And the definition of a well-oiled machine is something that operates capably through the effective coordination of many parts. That is what Costa Rica do. I feel like that was the very...
All right, Michael Scott.
Is that the definition of a bad wedding speech? Is when you start with, the dictionary defines love as...
I just have to say, because I know you haven't
Shout out to anyone who's ever done that.
You haven't watched The American Office, but I've
seen bits of it.
One of my favorite moments is when he's giving a wedding speech, and he says, Webster's defines wedding as the coming together of two materials under a high-intensity flame, because he looked at welding, and it makes me so very happy. And I want to give a wedding speech just so I can steal that part of the speech.
Well, on that note,
yes.
Costa Rica's defense will be welded shut.
Yep.
Right? So let's talk first,
I just wanted to say to your earlier point, like, yes, this team is going to be difficult to break down because it is that same team. It is that consistency. At least 7 of the starters will be the same starters from 2014.
You'll recognize them, right?
Up to 9, I believe, from the Henry Bushnell article previewing them. So they could have 9 starters from 2014. That's kind of insane.
And a side plug for FC Yahoo's World Cup preview coverage. We read a lot. Henry Bushnell's, I think, are the best.
They're up there.
Yeah?
They're up there.
Oh, I see. You're not as committal as I am.
I mean, best is a strong word. I like Henry's work very, very much. I like our work very, very much.
So
I like some of the Reddit work very much. There you go.
Here's what Costa Rica are going to look like. It's the classic Costa Rica from 2014, despite being a different coach. When you attack them, they will retreat into a 5-4-1. They have wing-backs, but when you're attacking them, the wing-backs essentially go alongside the 3 centre-backs and form a back 5, right?
Yep.
And that back 5 becomes impenetrable because if you imagine 5 across the back, there are gaps between each player, right? But then everybody else except the striker, probably Orenia, also comes back, and you have a line of 4 in front of the back 5, and they almost position themselves to fill the gaps. You know what I mean? It's like a very well-oiled machine. So there's no
It's almost
space.
like your description was accurate.
You cannot go through the middle. You cannot go down the sides. There is no space to attack. And they will, anytime you come near them, one of them will pop out and come and challenge you for the ball. I think we used to call them the whack-a-moles because they would sort of, say Borges in central midfield and you go at the middle, he'll come out and meet you, right? And you go a different angle, you go at the right and Gamboa's there, he'll come out and meet you. And if you even get past any of that, there's 3 really good centre-backs ready to tackle and clear and head it away. So frustrating to play against.
So what can teams do then, do you think, if they're going to be this compact and frustrating and whack-a-mole-esque?
I don't know, maybe don't sort of go all the way at them. Maybe knock the ball around the back and try and stretch them out. Maybe counter the counter because they do go at you when they come. So maybe you wait till they counter and then you go back the other way.
That's about what I have.
Okay.
Because one of my predictions is that they will concede a goal on a set piece counter, as in they will send too many numbers forward. They will get countered on. The U.S. almost did that to them. Christian Pulisic basically picked up the ball, drove 70 yards, shot wide. But that came about because they committed so many numbers forward that it was one of the few times when the U.S. did get the ball and turn and go at them, there was only 2 or 3 players in front of them. That's still a lot for most teams, but for Costa Rica, that is a significantly smaller amount than would usually be back.
It's more exposed than they usually are.
Exactly.
Yes. It is worth saying that they do have some effectiveness going forward. Once they receive the ball, they transform like a transformer into, I'm going to call it a 3-4-3. The Transformers are the best at transforming.
I would say so.
Into a more attacking 3-4-3. And then suddenly there are weapons. Christian Gamboa, when he gets down the right, he's got wheels. That guy goes. Brian Ruiz, like he's been hanging around at right mid or left mid doing the defensive job. Once he gets into the attacking mode, suddenly you're in trouble. Brian Ruiz has got some skills. Very Clint Dempsey-ish, I would say, with an extra 10 miles per hour.
I was going to say, slightly more mobile than Clint Dempsey.
A bit more mobile than Clint Dempsey, but all kinds of clever passes and moves, very hard to dispossess. And then you've got the hardest working man in showbiz. Marcus Orenia. So he plays the lone centre-forward role. Sometimes it's Venegas. I think it's going to be Orenia. He keeps running the channels, making himself available, making himself the outball so that Costa Rica can counter-attack.
And here's what I love the most about Marco Orenia is that sort of lateral movement that we've talked about. Where
did I say Marcos?
You did.
I did, yeah.
It's basically you don't see him necessarily just like standing up there and waiting.
Yes.
It's always him trying to either create overloads on one side or, again, going back to the U.S. game, I apologize, U.S. fans, he kept doing that thing that we've talked about so many strikers do when they're at that world-class level. He just finds that little gap between the 2 center backs. He is very adept at, you can see the center back saying, oh, he's yours now, he's moved across, and he will stop at that exact moment. And he stops right in the middle, and then if those center backs drift at all, he is very capable of exploiting that space. And I know it's a little bit cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway, finishing clinically. He doesn't get many opportunities, but he's not one of those needs 6 to score 1.
No.
He needs 1 to score 1.
Or 2 to score 2 against the United States.
Exactly.
In Harrison, New Jersey.
He knows his angles.
My prediction is, despite the high rating I have of his finishing, Marco Orenia will do a lot of work for no reward at this World Cup.
I've got a very similar one. I've got Marco Orenia will score a goal out of nowhere, but it won't really be out of nowhere. That's my prediction.
Because when we go back, we'll see all the movement he did off the ball.
Exactly. Like, he made that run 4 times and just didn't get the ball. But that time he did.
That's very Orenia. Any more predictions?
Yeah, I also have Costa Rica will score a goal off of a corner. So I think because they're still going to send those numbers forward. And maybe this is recency bias because I watched them against Northern Ireland and they scored 2. But they hit a... It's not like a low post driven ball, but it's that sort of going to the near post. It gets past that first defender, but it's low and bending so that the keeper can't quite come out and collect it cleanly. If they're getting to it at all, it's going to be through a scrum and maybe they're getting a hand to it. But it's always to that near post, driven but sort of bending, but clearing the first defender. And then there's either someone there to flick it on or to put it in the net right there. And I think unless teams can deal with that or address that issue, it seems like they've got some set piece drills figured out.
So, but you're saying that's a strength and a weakness, right?
Yes.
because I'm assuming they send at least two or three of the three centre backs forward. So what? Acosta, Duarte,
and Gonzalez.
Maybe Kendall Waston.
Maybe
Kendall Waston.
He played today, I believe.
All right. I guess. Oh yeah, I haven't seen Costa Rica, England. I know the results, but I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
I think Acosta played. I think it was Waston, Gonzalez, Acosta.
There we go. All right, but those guys will go forward and attack the ball, but also maybe leave a hole behind them. So concede corner kicks to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
That's what teams need to be doing.
But then also defend the near post.
Yeah. I'd like to see Marcelo's the smart one who will figure it out, and he'll receive the ball at left back.
Sure.
And he'll look around and he'll just turn around and kick it behind his own goal.
Yeah.
Concede a corner kick. And he'll tell everybody, no, we're going to counter. We're
exactly.
on it.
Yeah. He's got it all figured out. If anybody's got it, it's Marcelo.
I've got another prediction for you. Keylor Navas with a wonder save.
Yep.
Keylor Navas with an absolute wonder save.
That might be closer to the water is wet categorization. Yeah.
But here's why. Because Costa Rica frustrate you so much, teams end up taking shots from distance. So he will have the opportunity to get himself a nice full stretch save from a shot, from like a desperate shot, but a good shot, say, from 25, 30 yards out. I'm confident in his wonder saves. I was watching his footwork. It's very, very good. Even if there's not much coming at him for a long time, he is constantly on his toes, constantly moving in the best possible position and ready to spring into action. Keylor Navas, wonder save, coming at you in World Cup 2018.
I have like a slightly, I don't know, philosophical, tactical something question for you. When do you think it's advisable to shoot from distance? Like if you're playing against one of these teams who are very compact and sitting back, I think you're absolutely right that teams are going to shoot. And it feels like sometimes that can be a strength. Christian Eriksen, I would want shooting from 25 yards out. So do you think it's just about the individual ability of the person shooting? Do you think there are times when that can be a useful tactic? Or do you think more often than not it is just sort of, I got to try something, so why not a pot shot from distance?
So this is not my area of expertise, as you know, because you've seen me play. But I would argue that the time for like high quality players to do it is when the space and it's actually on.
See, that's actually why I'm asking you, is because you're the defender who I know that frustrates, and I think that frustrates because you as a defender, if you have somebody shooting at a wrong angle or from far out, you've kind of done your job. So I'm wondering if there's a moment when you're like, uh-oh, that guy's shooting, I should be letting that happen.
So I'd say my advice to players who are professional players and I'm not would be, don't take it out of desperation. Don't take the shot because there's nothing else on and you don't know what to do. Take it because someone has forgotten to step to you or hasn't stepped fast enough, or you found yourself in a pocket of space and it's a genuine opportunity to open up, have space in front of you, place it exactly where you want it. That's why Willian's good at it. We were talking about Brazil earlier. Willian's good at it because he's very good at making enough space that it's on, not that he's trying to shoot past a player who's standing in front of him.
Yeah, I think it's, I just realized.
There we go, Willian shot, Navas save. That's what's going to happen.
It's a good shout.
Yeah.
I think it probably, like, the best analogy I'd come up with or correlation would be a three-pointer in basketball.
Okay.
That, like, you can put that up under pressure if time's running out and maybe it works, but maybe it doesn't. But if you've got somebody screening and suddenly you've got a little bit of space, or, like, the play you've run has gotten you in an open spot, then maybe it makes sense to shoot if you don't feel that pressure closing in on you. If you're sort of like, oh, I'm hitting this exactly the way I want to, maybe you get back of the net or just the net for both of them.
Anything else on Costa Rica?
No, I mean, I think it's still, like, I want them to do well because it's a CONCACAF team and we're so familiar with them and they are very much an underdog. I don't necessarily think they're going to go, I know we've stayed away from doing predictions, but I don't necessarily think they're going to be as capable of going on that run as they were in 2014. I don't think I'm breaking new ground by saying that, but it is something that I do feel like I'm going to be rooting for them, but it's sort of, if you're a neutral, they're not necessarily a fun team to watch, aside from them being that underdog.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair?
I agree with that, because there'll be a lot of games that they take the tempo down a lot and it becomes a frustrating game to watch. If they do end up on that weird fairy tale type run of 2014, I will suddenly get behind it though. Same as Iceland, I think. I find them frustrating to watch, but then when the story starts unrolling, then you can get into it.
Yeah, and you could swing it around and say that, like, then when you finally do score the goal, it makes it that much more of a sweet reward, and you can jump and cheer and be like, yes, go Ticos / the Wait What's.
If you got the wait, what? Worth maybe I'm going to say we have some Costa Rican knowledge from watching them so many times against the US. I think important guy, Celso Borges. He's going to be one of the central midfielders, probably alongside Guzman.
David Guzman.
So Guzman's more the destroyer, right? He's the more win the ball back, possibly hurt you. Borges can win a tackle. He's also the passer. He's the schemer. The schemer in central midfield for Costa Rica.
I would say one quick addition there from what I've read. I think this was a Henry Bushnell one. Maybe Henry Bushnell is the best. I think he was saying that the reason why he might start over Yeltsin Tejada is because Tejada isn't as good in like transitioning from winning the ball back to possessing and moving forward, whereas that is something that maybe Guzman excels at a little bit. But I'm with you, though. He might excel a little bit, but Celso Borges is very much the one who's going to be doing that.
There we go. A guy we haven't mentioned, Joel Campbell. Here's why I didn't mention him. I'm not sure if he starts or not, which is weird because you'd think of him as one of Costa Rica's star players, right? He's technically with Arsenal, even though he's been on loan 6 times in the last few years. He played a lot at the 2014 World Cup, but I could just as easily see it being, say, Ureña, Bolaños, and Ruiz, and no Joel Campbell.
That would be my guess as to what they end up doing.
I don't know why, though. I don't understand how Joel Campbell has fallen down the order.
I mean, he fell down the order because I think he fell down the order at club level, that he had some injury seasons, some unproductive seasons, and so I think, like, basically, if you look at what has happened with Costa Rica, Ureña has established himself as that player who can make the smart runs, who can link up play, who can score the goals. Brian Ruiz is Brian Ruiz. Christian Bolaños is equally adept at attacking, can go into the channels and put those crosses in, but can cut inside and get shots off. They all offer things.
That's worth watching from Bolaños.
And so I think Joel Campbell is just as good at a lot of those things. I just think because you've got the kind of cohesion of this team is built on consistency, maybe he's been on the outside looking in. Ureña has had some injury issues, so maybe that's where he starts. If he doesn't, then he's either a sub there or a sub for one of those other 2 players you mentioned.
So maybe Joel Campbell off the bench. And he is my sort of transfer target guy because it might be time for him to leave Arsenal permanently.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think part of that is because we try to do like maybe a young player who's going to get a move. Joel Campbell is still only 25, and that makes him one of the younger players on this team. It's the 3rd oldest squad at the World Cup. So again, you've got that familiarity, that consistency, and part of that is the fact that a lot of these guys play together in the same leagues. You've got Costa Rica, 6 players on the roster from Costa Rica,
Saprissa.
4 playing in La Liga, and 6 playing in Major League Soccer.
Yes, so that might be the reason for US fans to support Costa Rica. Actually, one reason might be so that in the future we'll be able to say one of the teams that knocked us out of the Hex, they actually went to the World Cup final, so it's actually okay.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
Maybe just to make us look less bad.
Americans and Canadians, Vancouver Whitecaps, Kendall Waston. Why not?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But the other reason might be that if you're a Major League Soccer fan, there's a lot of MLS representation. I'm going to run you down the list if you don't mind. We have from NYCFC, Matarrita and Wallace. Matarrita's going to be one of the substitute wing-backs. He's probably got a chance to start, but I think Oviedo has the left wing-backs nailed down for now. Timbers have Guzman in central midfield. LAFC have Ureña. And Minnesota have Francisco Calvo, who I don't think will be a starter.
And Kendall Waston. Why are you trying to hate on my man Kendall? What's your problem?
I for some reason, I didn't think of Vancouver as an MLS team that appeals to Americans.
You probably called him Kendall Watson too, didn't you?
I did not. I very deliberately did not.
All right.
I realised before we move on, we haven't talked about the coach. It's not Jorge Luis Pinto.
No, it's not. It's Oscar Ramirez.
It's Oscar Ramirez, who's just copied and pasted Jorge Luis Pinto's tactics. I want to say he just came in and the team all said, I know he came in after one chop. After that
I was going to say you.
I understand that part.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the team might have just said, I'm guessing, I'm speculating.
Don't do that, is what they told
They've
us.
said, don't do what Paulo did.
Yeah.
But also, this thing worked for us. Let's make this our Costa Rican tradition and just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm interested in is if somehow or for some reason this doesn't work at the World Cup and a new coach comes in afterwards, there might be a chance that this Costa Rican tradition of the 5-4-1 that transforms into the 3-4-3, it could come to an end. This could be the last time you see it.
I think the best time for them to experiment, if this is the end, with a new formation and just totally radical approach, anytime you're playing the U.S. national team in a qualifier, go ahead and experiment, try different things.
That's part of why I'm driving at it, because if it breaks down, then it means that when they play the U.S., they'll be doing something different and we might have a chance.
So you were trying to go subtle and I just stepped right on it. Gotcha. Perfect.
It's kind of a dynamic, I think.
Well, I tried to subtly correct you about Marco Ureña earlier. You weren't having that.
I wasn't sure what you were doing. I was checking if I got it wrong.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
Really? Okay, but we think 5-4-1, 3-4-3, it'll work in terms of frustrating people. We don't know if it'll work in terms of actually winning games.
I don't know why you're saying it like we think this is what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
They could spring a surprise.
They're going to 4-5-1, bend, don't break is, I'm going to say, their overall approach.
5-4-1.
Excuse me. Yeah. See, there we go. I already got it wrong. Final team in the group. We've got Serbia. The Orlavi?
The Eagles.
Yep. What have you got, Daryl?
Instead of the Eagles?
Yep.
I mean, it's a pretty good nickname.
It is.
I've got the half and halves.
Okay.
because they are half a team of old man defenders and half a team of really interesting attackers.
And they water down coffee?
And they make coffee delicious and calorific.
Yes, exactly.
But I really do think it's a really odd mix of the excitement up front and the creakiness at the back.
Yep.
So they are the half and halves.
All right. Well, I have gone for the Mourinhos.
The Mourinhos?
They're the Mourinhos. Because they're a gigantic team that's going to be very defensive.
Oh, because Mourinho does love a tall player, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's already signed one of the people on this team and is actively trying to sign a second, if you believe reports.
And he kept picking a third when he was at Chelsea, who maybe didn't deserve to keep being picked. Yeah.
So the Mourinhos or Jose Mourinho's managerial fantasy land is what I've called them. And at Jose Mourinho's managerial fantasy land, no fun is allowed. All the rides are huge but kind of boring. You will be publicly shamed if you stray too far from the park. Those are the rules.
What's the park called again?
Jose Mourinho's managerial fantasy land. Follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
Yeah.
Okay, Serbia. Let's get into it. I mentioned the creaky back four. Should we start there? Because I think that's the weak spot for Serbia.
Oh, you think?
I do. So the entire back four is over 30, pushing into mid-30s, right? It's left back is Kolarov, who you will remember from his Manchester City days. I watched some Serbia games. He got burned several times. I know he still plays for Roma, right? Still plays in the Champions League, all that. But this guy got burned a lot at left back. There are faster people out there. If he comes up against Breel Mbolo, he is in trouble.
Yep, I would agree with that. I mean, you've kind of led me into it, so I'm just going to jump straight to a prediction here.
I was only a quarter of the way through my creaky back four.
Okay, yeah. I mean, but then I can keep going with you if you'd like, because it's not just the back four either. It's also their goalkeeper. The average age of the back four plus the goalkeeper, 33.4. So, and they're all right around there. It's 33, 34, 35. So you've got that across the back line. I'll get to the maybe last one you're going to get to. So go ahead, Daryl.
Well, okay, so the centre-backs will be Branislav Ivanovic, who has definitely lost a step. We saw that at Chelsea not so long ago. Partnered by...
Kind of long ago. He lost a step then.
Yeah.
And
he hasn't found it.
It's a while later, yeah.
Dusko Tosic is another elderly gentleman next to him. And we talked last show, right, about how it doesn't necessarily mean that you're suddenly slow because you hit 32, 33. This is from watching these guys and actually seeing that they're definitely slow.
Agreed.
Right? This is with the eye, not just looking at their date of birth.
And that's where I want to talk about Antonio Rukavina.
The right back?
That is the right back. And my prediction is that he will get at least one yellow card or just be horribly exposed. And while I do think that they are a solid defensive unit, if you go back to their 1-0 loss in the friendly against Chile went down Rukavina's side every single time when they were springing, not every single time, but most of the time when they were springing their attacks.
Yep.
And I think the reason was obvious. I saw him doing a lot of desperate slide tackles and desperate challenges or pulling players back. Plays that probably would have been more aggressive cards or more aggressively called if it weren't a friendly, but it seemed like they had definitely targeted him. And I think anytime you see an outside back really going to ground way too readily, it means that maybe they're not quite able to handle the pace and the physicality.
And best of luck to him against Marcelo and Neymar on Brazil's left side when that game happens. I think teams will be sending cards to Rukavina saying, "We'll be seeing you, Rukavina." The good news for that creaky old defence is in front of them, they have Luka Milivojevic, excuse me, of Crystal Palace, and Nemanja Matic of Manchester United, a Mourinho favourite. Mourinho doesn't coach this team, by the way. We're just kidding about that. They are basically like two terrifying giant robot sentries with telescopic legs.
Yep.
Both of these guys, super long legs, and they're willing to use them to win tackles. And they will patrol that back four and will not let you through. That is the defensive strength of Serbia, is Milivojevic and Nemanja Matic.
I didn't really realize how many numbers I'd put into my preview here. There's a lot of math and averaging happening. Yeah, those two, and then if you have Sergei Milinkovic-Savic ahead of them, sort of tall. You've got 6'4", 6'3", and 6'1" as your three starting midfielders if it's SMS in the middle.
But I really do see a difference between the two holding midfielders I mentioned and SMS. I think there'll be a bit of distance between them.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you'll have... The reason I call them the half and half is because I see a back six and a front four.
Yep.
And Matic is maybe the one who's allowed to walk between worlds.
I mean, he scored 20 goals at international level. He has not. I think he has 2.
Matic is maybe the one that gets to join the attack, right? He's a little bit like Blade, right? He's the daywalker that he can wander into the attack as well. But everybody else stays home.
I don't know why. I don't know why you referencing Blade makes me laugh. Aside from all of the background knowledge on Blade Trinity, the third one, including that he insisted on everyone calling him Blade throughout the entirety of filming.
That's what Matic does.
There you go. You see, the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised to know that if he introduced himself as like, I am the Blade. I'd be like, yep, that sounds about right. Why not?
Oh, one thing worth noting with Serbia's creaky backline, it wasn't by design. Wasn't there a much younger, more talented
Nastasic.
Nastasic was supposed to be in there. How old is he? 20-something?
25, 26.
25, 26. ACL injury. He is out. That's why they're stuck with the old guys.
Yes, he would have been the starting center back playing for Schalke, torn ACL 6-ish weeks ago. So, yeah, definitely not back in time for this one.
But here's what happens. 4-2-3-1. When the 4 and the 2 have maybe got the ball, they will look to go forward to the 3 and the 1 pretty quickly, right? It's kind of direct to that front four. A lot of talent in that front four. So can we move there and talk about those guys?
We can. But I think in order to do that, I'm going to actually go to the coach because to talk about why they're a little bit more attacking, you have to look at their coach. So their coach is not Slavoljub Muslin. He was sacked 3 weeks after securing qualification. He was replaced by Mladen Krstajic, who is their current coach.
Looks like the Winklevoss twins' older brother.
Ooh, I like that, and is accurate. Yes, you're getting better at these. 44-year-old former Serbia Partizan defender, made 59 appearances for the Serbian national team. But he was basically brought in as a replacement and has not coached at senior level before. His first competitive match, non-friendly, will be against Costa Rica in the World Cup, which is an interesting time to get your debut.
It certainly is.
And to connect the tissue here, in his opening remarks in his first press conference, he just straight up said, Serbia will play a 4-3-3. Like, he was saying, that's what we're going to do.
And I've been saying 4-2-3-1, but it's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We're including SMS in the 3. Yeah.
But I think they were not playing that. They were being much more defensive. And I guess from the expert opinion was that maybe somebody at the Federation said, you will play 4-3-3. And he said, I will play 4-3-3. And they said, you will be the manager. And that's where we are.
He said, I will be the manager.
But Muslin before him was criticized for his negative tactics. There were then some questionable call-ups.
He didn't pick Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, did he? He didn't pick him. What is wrong with him?
But the minor
I'm still
one,
angry.
I have an answer for you. But the minor one was Dusko Tosic, who you mentioned, that center back. He's basically going to be starting, had been starting, didn't get called up for 2 years. So he's another one. But SMS is the big one. And it seems like the reason for that is because of his agent. The agent and Muslin, SMS's agent, who's another former national team player, they feuded publicly. And it sounds like Muslin was basically like, I want nothing to do with this guy. I don't want him around my team. So anybody he represents is also not going to be invited into this camp. Wow.
That's a big shout when you see Sergej Milinkovic-Savic play. I think it's a name worth remembering, listeners. We're going to say SMS to keep it short.
Yeah.
Obviously, we spell out all the names, the important names in the show notes. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. He's the big guy Taylor mentioned earlier. Very tall midfielder. Plays for Lazio in Italy.
For now.
I've been calling him Serbian Pogba.
Yep.
Because he has the same combination of size, strength, and skills.
Yes.
Right? And he uses the size and strength to make his skills even more deadly.
Yeah, I mean, he's a number 10 who is that same sort of like body shape, size, build. But you wouldn't. It's not just that, he's big, he wins the ball, he bodies people off. He still has that fleet of foot, that ability to do a move when you don't see it coming and really make somebody go the wrong way.
You can see him playing futsal.
Absolutely, you
Yeah?
can.
Maybe his head scraping the ceiling of the futsal facility,
Yeah,
but you can
right.
see him playing futsal.
Yeah. He'd be the one to score a header in futsal somehow.
Yes,
He could do that too.
He also has an eye for a pass. This is a thing because I've been watching a lot of highlights of him, which is all the skills and stuff, but I see a lot, you watch more of him, you see a lot of really clever, similar to Pogba actually, he's got the vision to see balls that don't look on and then play them and no one else expects it. So my prediction is we'll see a Sergej Milinkovic-Savic unexpected pass that leads to a goal.
I think we're kind of on the same page here. Mine was that Serbia will make a commentator say totally against the run of play at least once when they score. Because I was watching them against Korea. They had a 1-1 friendly draw. They sat back a lot, really didn't have many opportunities until at halftime they brought on Matic and SMS. Suddenly they had a lot more opportunities, but a lot of them came from a pass to Matic, from Matic to SMS. SMS turns and hits that like perfect 40-yard ball between two defenders into the path of usually definitely Dusan Tadic.
And it's really weird. What I kept seeing is he would be facing one direction, and everyone's attention is focused maybe down the right, and he would just suddenly slip this pass to the left.
Yep.
And everybody's like, "What? Where did that come from? How did he do that?"
Maybe they should be the wait whats?
Maybe they should. So SMS, absolutely a player to watch.
Now, we've talked about their height, and it's worth noting they're not actually that tall. Just kidding, they're the tallest team of the tournament. Their shortest player is 5'10". That would be Rukavina, we already mentioned. Dusan Tadic is 5'11".
It's all against Rukavina.
It really is. Dusan Tadic, 5'11". Everyone else on the team is over 6 foot.
So Dusan Tadic, people will know him from Southampton. Very nice, skillful attacking midfielder. I believe he'll play sort of wide for Serbia, but will come in field and pick out some passes as well. So he's not going to be a winger, right? He'll be more like a attacking right midfielder who drifts centrally.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm just going to make sure that
you don't draw that one up so easily when you're doing the 4-2-3-1.
But you know what I'm saying? But on the other side, I think you'll have more of a winger.
Yes.
If it's Kostic, for example, he's more of a winger. If it's Zivkovic, who's one of those U20 World Cup guys that Serbia won the U20 World Cup, right?
There's several of them,
very excited. So that's an exciting reason to watch this team. Zivkovic will dribble down the left and get some crosses.
He will, or it could be Kostic as well. I think he and Kolarov combined for like 4 or 5 goals in 4 goals in World Cup qualifying. So that left side is definitely an avenue for lots of overlapping runs, lots of crosses, and some goals as well.
And then up front.
Yep.
The man who plays centre forward is a hero in Fulham. His name is Alexander Mitrovic, centre forward. So he's a Newcastle player, did okay for Newcastle, went on loan to Fulham in February. Didn't get there till February the 1st. It's the end of winter deadline day, and has fired them into the Premier League. Alexander Mitrovic. I got a good look at him. I really like this guy.
Okay.
He is super combative. He will rip your arm off to get the ball. Like he's in a Saw movie and there's a key in your arm. He will do that to get the ball. He is great in the air. I saw so many headers into the side netting. Not great in the air in terms of height. He's not one of the big players.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
On the Serbia team. Every header seems to be directed right at the side
It's
netting.
with purpose. It's with direction. It's not just, I hope I win this, and then maybe it goes in. Yeah. Oh, it pops straight up in the air.
It presupposes I'm going to win this, and then he decides what he's going to do with it when he meets it in the air. So here's my prediction. Serbia will score Alexander Mitrovic header into the interior side netting.
Yeah. And I'll say this for people who are maybe new to soccer or have friends who are new and want an explanation. It has always been strange to me to hear that somebody is good at headers, because in my mind it's just like, yeah, you can jump really high and win the header. But Mitrovic is a perfect example of a person who is good at headers, which means to say that when you're shooting the ball, if you aren't thinking, I'm going to hit this ball so hard, but you've thought, oh, he's moving there, that guy's moving there, that spot's going to open up, I can aim it there and hit it there, you have that clarity of thought. That extends to headers as well. And if you're a player who can handle like a double challenge from 2 center backs, but still plot the trajectory of the ball and where it needs to be in relation to the goalkeeper, that makes you a natural header of the ball. And I think that would be Mitrovic.
So definitely worth keeping an eye on Mitrovic. And as I said, he is going to fight you. He's going to come after you. So look out for Mitrovic.
And that
Group E defenders.
And I think that's kind of representative of the whole team as well, that they're all big, that they all will, be good in the air, but they will all be very feisty. And that extends to Adam Ljajic, who I don't think we talked about at all.
Most people will know his name from his brief spell at Manchester United.
Manchester United fans might know his name.
Okay.
I'm not sure he ever even made an appearance, but he played for Fiorentina as well. I think he had a cup of coffee with Roma. Now he's with Torino, and really
espresso.
Yeah, you're right. But is a player who I just kept seeing him. Like, I watched 3 different games of them. I mean, again, like extended highlights. Not trying to claim that I've watched 400 hours of soccer, but I kept seeing him in a different number, and I'd be like, "Oh, who's number 15? Like, he's just chasing people. Who's number 14? They got a lot of people running people down." And then I would look at the game notes and think, "Oh, it's Ljajic every time."
All right, I've given you my 2 predictions.
Yep.
Have you got any?
I've given you mine too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, we're better than I thought.
We are. We're fast. Rukavina will have a problem, and Serbia will make a commentator say totally against the run of play.
So are there any youngsters that we think will catch the eye for Serbia and earn themselves a big move?
Yeah, there's a guy named Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. I don't know if you've heard of him. I mean, yes, I think he will get a move. I actually don't think it will be to Manchester United. I think that's the one that the tabloids are hitting the most because they're the team that, in recent memory, has the most to spend. I do think he'll get a move. I don't know where it will be.
Interesting. Okay. I think it could be Mitrovic because he seems surplus to requirements at Newcastle.
Yep.
Fulham were interested, but I'm not sure they've put the money together yet. I think a successful World Cup, he could really catch the eye for maybe some bigger teams in the Premier League. He'll probably end up at West Ham.
Yeah, and then maybe
or Everton. Or
if you want to go younger, the man you mentioned earlier, Andrija Zivkovic,
yes,
21-year-old for Benfica. Don't know if he's going to be starting or if he'll be coming off the bench, but if he gets those impact moments, maybe again that sparks the attention, especially if Serbia can get out of the group and maybe make a little bit of a run.
And then the other guy is Kostic that we mentioned. He was on that Hamburg team that went down.
Yep.
He didn't do so well, which is part of the reason they went down.
I think he's actively trying to find his way out of Hamburg.
He's more talented than playing in the second tier in Germany, but he might have to prove it to get himself a move.
But I think I want to add, though, like there's a reason why we keep saying and maybe, and you hit upon it earlier. This team is very young. You do have a lot of that youth movement involved.
From the U20 World Cup,
Three players that won the 2015 U20 World Cup and the 2013 U19 Euros are on this team.
Was Mitrovic one of the U20 World Cup winners?
He was not.
He was not, okay.
Though. Rajkovic, Velskovic, and SMS were the three that have won both. Two more won the U19 Euros in 2013. So you've got a lot of youth in this team, and I think that's part of the reason why we're saying so many players could potentially get a move.
Okay, so the half and halves, old and young, defense and attack.
Yes. And the final thing I have to say about Serbia before we get into our reasons to watch them or why Americans should watch them, they helped me realize that unit might be my favorite piece of British slang. Describing somebody as an absolute unit is such a great description, and it makes me so happy.
It's deliberately imprecise, right? You're not even saying what they are a unit of, but you're just implying that the thing they're a unit of is something very heavy and you can't move it.
Yeah, it just makes me happy. I just like it. I like it a lot. So
who was described as a unit?
All of them. I think to the extent that a lot of the comments I saw were like, you have a team of units. Your whole team is built of units. But I just love he is an absolute unit describing somebody.
So maybe the other nickname is the 11 absolute units.
That's really what I should have gone for. Yeah, the 11 units. Yeah.
So why should Americans watch them? Why should they maybe even support them?
I think if you are looking for the next young thing, like if you're excited, because there is that, I hear that. Put it this way, NPR is going to do a 5-minute, hey, the World Cup's starting, who should we watch? And you're going to get Messi's going to be there, Ronaldo's going to be there, the US isn't there. Here, and what about the exciting youngster? Who's the up-and-comer? I feel like that might be SMS.
Oh, interesting. I do know Grant Wall, he tweeted out, he's going to be doing some work for NPR. So soccer is making inroads on national public radio.
Then never mind. Grant Wall can know more than just SMS, I'm sure.
Yeah, there we go. I think maybe US fans should watch because it could give us hope that a coach with no experience can succeed. And then it takes the pressure off the next US coaching appointment.
Do you feel like there's a lot of coaches with little to no experience who are suddenly managing national teams at the World Cup? It really is.
I think a lot of international soccer is just persuading someone to do it.
I would say that there's... That's really well said. I really think that there's at least one per group. I really do think. I'm not saying that there's one per group, but I think if you average it out, that's about where we're at in terms of a manager who's only been managing for a year or has never managed at senior level.
All right, Serbia, consider yourself previewed.
And they're red, white, and blue.
And they're red, white, and blue. Good point. All right, so Brazil, Switzerland, Costa Rica, Serbia. I think the only thing I would say confidently is that I think Brazil finishes top.
Who do you think?
Maybe even 9 points.
Yeah.
I'm all in on Brazil.
Yeah. It does feel like it's pretty open there. If I had to pick, I think I probably would lean towards Serbia making it through.
Really? Over Switzerland? Okay. Yep. If I asked you why, would you be able to say?
I think you've just ruled out Costa Rica, haven't you? By saying over Switzerland. I think just because even with the way we've described them as being old and young and the sort of differences between, I think that they have more attacking firepower. I really do think some of their attackers, for example, the fact that we, I think, only mentioned one of the midfield attacking three for Switzerland, whereas I'd say Serbia have 4 or 5 who could theoretically start.
That makes sense to me. I'd say Costa Rica fans, if you're suddenly annoyed, remember that everybody did this in 2014. They were in the group with England, Italy, Uruguay, and it was all about which 2 of that 3 would get out of the group. In the end, Costa Rica won the group.
I don't know. I think the favourites always go through every single time, 1 and 2. That's how it works.
But maybe Costa Rica fans should be happy that they're being underrated again, because then it gives them the element of surprise one more time.
There we go.
We're reverse jinxing them.
Perfect.
Reverse CONCACAF jinx.
I like it.
All right, Tyler, we will be releasing this very soon, obviously. Group F preview is going to be recorded tonight as well and released on Friday. So Group F to look forward to. One thing worth mentioning, we haven't talked about the US men's national team and Ernie Stewart's appointment as general manager and the build-up to the France game at the weekend. What I would say to you is we are busy with the World Cup, but there was an episode of the Top Draw Soccer Show published this very morning. Search for Top Draw Soccer Show on iTunes. Travis Clark, our co-host at Top Draw Soccer, interviews Henry Bushnell.
There we go.
Again, his third mention on today's show. I've listened to it. It's a really good... I got the preview to listen to it because, we're involved. That gives a great look at the current state of the US, and Henry has a really good, nuanced opinion on Ernie Stewart's hire as general manager. We'll be back after the weekend to review the US youngsters' win over France, though, right?
Indeed.
It's probably not what we'll be doing, but we will be reviewing the game. All right, Tyler Rocco, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. Once again, please spread the word about the Total Soccer Show. The World Cup is coming and we want to get as many listeners as we can. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.